Everyone, Samantha here. So my research proposal looked at the effects of chaos in the home on children's emotional reactivity and whether or not those effects were mediated by problem-solving skills. I also looked for sex differences. Some quick definitions. Emotional reactivity is the extent to which an individual experiences emotion, and chaotic environments are described as noisy, busy, disorganized, and crowded. Why was I drawn to this topic? I have always been interested in how our environment affects us, and I always think about how children's home environments affect them, whether it's students or family friends. And so I was kind of drawn to this idea of the effects of a chaotic home environment. I'm also very interested in emotions because they're very complex and people express emotions in different ways that some people find are acceptable and others find are not. So there are 6 principles to the principles of influence. The one that I focused on was social validity. And that's when we look to others' behaviors in a situation to determine our own behavior. And these principles help us um, get our needs met. So we have this need to be affiliated or belonging to a group. We have this need for our actions to get us what we want and our need to be consistent with our behaviors and our beliefs. Um, Emotions can serve as functions, but they can also be socially dysfunctional, such as throwing a tantrum at school. That would probably not make a lot of friends for you. Um, but it could also be beneficial to let others know how we feel because they might change their behavior to help us meet our goal. So, for example, if a baby is hungry, it's going to cry and mom will feed the baby. So the baby is getting his needs met. Um, the mom is changing her behavior based on the baby's emotions. Research has shown that chaos actually leads to lower emotional regulation and increased internalizing problems in adolescence. It can have a negative effect on academic performance and it can increase psychological distress. Research on sex differences has been conflicting. Some have found that chaos affects females more, some have found it affects males more, and some people have found no differences. Emotional reactivity has been found to lead to increased internalizing and externalizing problems, and it can lead to poorer social outcomes so that higher levels of emotional reactivity leads to higher levels of peer victimization. And this is true in the long term, 6 to 8 months later. And then when chaos and emotional reactivity interact, it leads to increased internalizing problems. But when chaos is low, it does not lead to increased internalizing problems, suggesting that chaos plays a large role. Research has shown that social problem-solving skills predict less behavior problems. So the more skill you have, the less behavior problem you have. And that there were no differences found in skill levels between sexes. As you can imagine, behaviors can result from emotions. These studies looked at improving students' behaviors. However, I'm going to use social problem-solving skills to try and change students' emotional reactivity. My research questions are, does chaos in the home predict emotional reactivity in children? And does this differ for males and females? Do problem-solving skills mediate the effect of chaos in the home on emotional reactivity? And does this mediation effect depend on whether one is male or female? My participants are going to come from the NICHD dataset from phase 3. Ethnicity and incomes to need is measured at 1 month. Chaos in the home is measured in 3rd grade with a questionnaire filled out by mom. Problem-solving skills is measured in 5th grade with scores from Tower of Hanoi test. And emotional reactivity is measured in 6th grade with a questionnaire filled out by mom. I'm going to analyze these variables with the statistical software AMOS. So here is a picture of what my model might look like. Of particular importance are going to be the paths from chaos in home to emotional reactivity and from problem-solving skills to emotional reactivity. That's going to tell me whether or not there is a mediating effect. And I will also be testing to see if these effects are statistically significantly different for boys and for girls. So I'm expecting to find that chaos positively predicts emotional regulation because previous research has suggested that. And I know there's been conflicting information on sex differences, but I'm thinking that it's probably not going to matter whether or not they're male or female. And I'm thinking that problem solving skills is going to decrease the effect of chaos on emotional reactivity because of previous research, and also that it's not going to depend on whether they're male or female because of previous research. So the results of this study would be important for people in education and school psychologists because it will help us identify risk factors, create targeted interventions for these students in need, so interventions that would focus on problem solving skills.